What's up, everyone? It is your girl Gel Beauty 87 here, aka Grace, and it's time for part 2 of my top 3 from each category. So you all said you wanted me to do a part 2, so this part 2 we're gonna do my top 3 quads for eyeshadows, my top 3 grungy palettes, my top 3 IP collabs, my top 3 Halloween palettes, my top 3 blue, green, and purple palettes, and my top 3 influencer palettes, and then we'll finish off with my top 3 most unique color stories in my collection, at least in my personal opinion. So without further ado, girl, let's get into it because I talk entirely too much. Let's go. So we're gonna start with these cute little quads. So I got these 3 quads. Of course, Mother that has amazing quads she came out with in the past before she started doing the giant mega motherships that she did. So of course I had to start off with my all-time favorite one, and we all know why it's my all-time favorite one. As soon as I open up and you look at the color story, honey, it's blue, green, and purple. Child, it's blue, green, and purple. That just said it all. This is stunning. This is amazing. I absolutely love this. I know one of you all told me your purple had gotten hard pan, and I'm so sorry for you, but this is still one of my all-time favorite quads. Obviously, they're also going to be my top 3 in each category. When I want a blue, green, and purple moment and I'm in a rush, I know I can grab from one of Mother's palettes or just any neutral look when I'm in a rush and still have that fun pop of color that I need to survive. Because y'all understand, when I have to do more eye looks, I am so upset for the rest of the day, because I'm like, I love me a colorful moment that much that I'm saddened when I can't have it. Next, I have the Ritualistic Rose from Mother. I think this was the only one, I think it was 2020 when this came out. This was the only one that was made in Italy, and I could tell the difference immediately when I tried this versus the other ones that were made in the US. This is my favorite one out of that year. The color story of this is absolutely stunning. Like, this shade right here shifts to a gorgeous shade. You got a nice pink matte. Then you got this neutral brown for the outer V, since Mother's like Huda and don't want to give you any colorful shades for the outer V. I wish she'd do a nice jewel tone palette. Anyway, and then we have this you know, nice inner corner shade for you to use. So this is a good, quick, cute quad. I love to use Mother's quad when I'm on the go and in a rush, but I still want to use color because I know it's going to blend easily. I know the shimmers are going to look amazing, and I know it's going to come up with a halfway decent look at the end of the day. So I love it for that, but you know. The last one I have is Glowing Iris from Kaleidos. Before they started coming out with whatever is going on over there with all the neutrals and all that, and blushes that don't work for anybody, melanin and all that stuff. I really like the color of this though. I feel like this is one I would pair with Nocturnal Nirvana. Because you gotta think, I got my purple outer V shade right here. I got my purple crease shade. Although I feel like they're pretty similar, I could use like the blue, the green, or the purple shimmer and make a nice little eye look with it and rush out the door. So I'd have my mattes in here. I could use the shimmers in there and make a look. That's another reason I picked this one, because I'm like, I wanted it to be able to pair with something and still be able to go alone. So that's why this one got picked. Aside from the fact, y'all know I just love me a purple palette. I am a purple palette connoisseur, as I always make the joke. So you know, I just had to have it. Gotta put that to the side because that's for a whole nother video still. Yes, y'all, I still have a million ideas in my head. So next, let's get into the grungy palettes. So I picked these 3 grungy palettes. I have the, what is it, Moonfall palette from Shroud. Y'all, why battery was gonna start blinking when I start talking about stuff. But this is what it looks like. Y'all know mine is well loved. Like, a couple of my shimmers, sorry, 3 out of the 4 shimmers in here have chunks missing out of them just because I don't even know why. I guess because they have to go in transit constantly. But I love this. To me, this is a perfect grungy tone. I feel like this pairs nicely with other palettes that have jewel tone mattes in them for me to use with the sparkly, amazing shimmers in here. So I love this one. I plan on pairing it with a lot of stuff. Like the Nomad palette I have. What is it? The Royal Europe. I plan on pairing it with the Warlock palette and some other stuff, because it's just a gorgeous companion palette. But it also stands alone on its own, so you don't have to worry about buying it thinking it's a companion palette. You can use it with other things. Next, I have the Glaminatrix Nocturnal palette. I love this palette, y'all, because like I said, to me, this is for people who don't know how to pair colors. Because hold both these down, you got a quad, you got a quad, you got a neutral quad. So you got 3 sets of quads, but I still feel like it all goes together nicely and it's all grungy and works out as well too. So if you're a person who doesn't necessarily know what to do with color, I feel like this is a good brand for you, because they come out with cute little quads like this for you to use their palettes with and know what to do. The last one, I actually just tried this brand this year, but I was thoroughly impressed with this palette, and I feel like it fits the theme of grungy going on, so I wanted to shout it out. So this is the Nightshade palette from Doodles by the Bunny and Gourmand Girls, they have a haunted one that came out that looks similar to this one that I'm thinking about getting. I'm gonna have to wait and see. And I also have the Spooked palette, so I have everyone basically they've came out with Doodles by the Bunny that she's helped design. I really love the color story of this. I like the green and purple like flow of it. I love this shifting shade and this shifting shade, and I've used this palette a few times considering I just got it recently and I have a lot of palettes to choose from. So I definitely thought that this should make the cut for this particular category, just because I've been using and loving it a lot. There was another one I would have put in here, but like it has to go in another category because it's more under like the Halloween palettes like I talked about, so we'll have to wait on that one. I'll just go into the influencer ones now. Obviously we know Tina the Fancy Face is in it. She lives in the background, so let's just start off with Miss Tina girl. So I got my Hummingbird palette here. Y'all know I'm living for it. My palette has so many dips in it. I love to pull it out and use them whenever UOMA comes out with a new collab, so that way I can justify using it, because I use somebody else's that you can still buy and I can still use Tina's, because people get mad about stuff like that. But I love Tina and I love this palette, so any excuse to use it, I will pull it out and do so. I actually have a collab video coming up that I'm going to film with this one, pairing it with the Planet Spirit, so you just have to stay tuned for that. But needless to say, I love this. This was well deserved. It took forever for somebody to give Tina the acknowledgement she deserves. I'm just glad she got it, and I had like 3 of them. I calmed down and I had 2. I put one in the giveaway, so I didn't hoard them all, but I did hoard a fresh one just to look at in splendor and all. Okay, thank you. Next, I have the Jackie Aina X ABH palette. Now, y'all know we had to get Auntie Jackie's palette. I'm sorry, Jackie Aina's palette. She doesn't like to be called Auntie Jackie anymore. So, you know I had to get this palette. I mean, it has the perfect aesthetic for me. It has this pink and purple moment right here. Then you still get like some neutral earthy tones. And then she has the shade Sponsored, which to me is a gorgeous shade. I know she was throwing shade at people who always say she's sponsored, but I really like the palette as a whole. I'm not necessarily crazy about this little section over here, but y'all know I don't really do neutrals, but it's, you know, it balances. Like I was saying, I feel like it rounds the palette out nicely, like the nice little neutral section. For people who don't necessarily want to use these tones that often, you can still use it every day, or you can pair them nicely and just have a pop of color with one of the fun pops of color she put in the palette. So I'm here for it. It's a vibe. It's cute. And as you can see, mine is messy because she's loved. The last one I have to talk about, I had an honorable mention in this category, but then I remembered that, you know, it's the collaborator has a whole Halloween collection, so you'll see it when we get to the Halloween section. So needless to say, you should already know it is Club Nebula from Angelica Nikovic and Kaleidos. And this is what it looks like on the inside. This is still one of my favorite color stories from Angie. I feel like it gives off some of the vibes of the, what do you call that one? The little ghost though. Because it's like, I feel like instead of the green in there, this fun bright neon green, she just replaced it with a yellow. But it's like you still get those purples that she likes. You still get the blues that she likes. And then you still get like the corally roll that she likes. So it might be a good alternative for you if you didn't get a chance to get your hands on this palette. Or the Hauntingly Glamorous palette from Unearthly, and I forgot the creator's name, but it looks really similar to this palette as well. So if you didn't get, don't be on Macari paying somebody $1 million for this palette. Although it is nice and wonderful, and I do think it was worth the price I paid for it. Don't be letting people overcharge you for it. But it's still one of my all-time favorite influencer collab palettes in my collection, so I definitely had to shout it out. I'm trying to slowly pack stuff up to like take home with me. So all this can go home now. Okay. Oh, this can go home now. Okay, let's get into the IP collabs now. Sorry, y'all, keep having to bend down because, like I said, I have to put everything on the floor so I can't. So all of them are from Glamlight, but y'all know Glamlight does a whole bunch of collabs, so I feel like it shouldn't be surprised. Now, I think one of them you saw in another video, so my apologies, but like I really like it, so it had to be in here again. I was gonna pick another one, but it didn't. It wasn't one I really used as often. And I want to be true to what the collab was be about if you had to pick a top 3. So, of course, we start off with the Glamlight X Barbie collab. I'll say what I always say. I'm loving the representation that's given as opposed to just being this. It's this. So, I love the color story of this. I love me a blue and purple moment. I like the purple and pink moment. And then I like this little neutral smoky eye that you can do really quick if you're in a rush to get an eye look done. So I feel like the palette was curated very nicely as a whole. And I'm happy to have it in my collection. This is my most used Barbie palette out of both the Barbie palettes I have. I only have 2 if you all remember ColourPop has one. But I definitely reach for this one more because I feel like it gives more variety to looks for what I like to do. So I like it better. Now this one, when I first tried it, I wasn't necessarily crazy about it. I feel like I got a nice eye look and I feel like it looked nice. But over time, it's one I've actually reached for quite a bit. And you're going to see another video where I talk about eyeshadow palettes I reached for a lot. This is the Glamlite X Scooby-Doo palette. So this is part 2, round 1. If you all remember, they had those 2 quads. There was one of really, sorry, 2 tin pans. One was really similar to Baddie Beans' freaking Bats palette. So I really love the variety and color story in here. Once I like started coming up with color combinations, as opposed to just like trying to look at it as the outfits of the people on the show, I found myself making nice unique color stories that I really enjoy and really liked. So I had to pick this one because I felt like it was pretty well curated, all things considered. And although they didn't pick the colors exact for the outfits, because since Freddie wears their orange ascot and then Velma wears all orange, it's kind of hard to, like, you know, put the oranges in both places. So with that, I felt like it might have been a little difficult for them, but otherwise I still liked it as a whole, and I like using the palette, so I wanted to be true to what the collab is about, or I should say the tag is about. The last one I have to talk about is the Rick and Morty one. Y'all know this one's gonna be in here. I absolutely love this one. I've used this one like at least 3 or 4 times. It's just stunning. I mean, this is definitely my type of color story. I like that there's these bright neon-y looking shades, and there's like little quads everywhere that you can pick color stories for, because I feel like the orange and green little part here would look nice together, and then the blues could be on its own. Then you get a nice little pink and purple moment. So as a whole, I feel like I made really nice looks with this. I think I did like 3 looks with this to show 3 different sets of color stories you could use, because I liked it that much. So needless to say, I was impressed with it enough. And although I don't agree with what one of the creators did as far as him being removed from the show, I still like the color story of the palette as a whole, and that's the part I'm trying to get you to focus on, not necessarily the allegations against him. And I heard he doesn't get paid from this collab either, so if you were concerned about that, I'm told he does not. Don't quote me though, because to me it's just like a hearsay type thing. I didn't like investigate it myself personally, so I don't want to, like, you know, go into that. Okay, so I will go into my 3 unique palettes in my collection. Now this one to me is somewhat unique just because Kirsten Dominique came out with the Lemonade palette, and I feel like the color story of it is really similar to this one, because if you all remember when I showed you this palette when it first came out and I was talking about it, I was like, it reminded me of something. It reminds me of the Kirsten Dominique or Dominique Cosmetics Lemonade palette. It does have some unique tones in it that one didn't have, like this one right here and this one right here, but as a whole the color story looks pretty similar. The shimmers in that one though, like, they're pressed down really hard, so I liked having this one because this didn't have hard pressed shimmers in it. But it's still a great palette overall. I really like the uniqueness to the tones in here, and the fact that you can get a nice like monochromatic purpley deep smoky eye, but you still have a nice light soft romantic eye, or you can just do a cute little yellow moment. So I think that's what makes this palette unique, and I wanted to include it. The second one I have is the Peaches and Dream. I definitely think this is unique because to me it's just a really scattered color story. I don't necessarily see how everything goes together, but I still managed to make some nice looks out of it in spite of it. But to me this is just more of a companion palette because there's nothing in here deep enough for the outer V. I did the green in the video and you all saw I really didn't give that much depth to the outer V. So this is to me is a companion palette, but it's still a unique companion palette that I feel like would pair nicely with other palettes that I wanted to show. And y'all know I live for the shade right here, Succulent. Like, this is what makes the palette for me. Like, the shade Succulent is just amazing. So I had to include this because it's definitely, I feel like, unique to the other color stories in my collection. The last one I have to talk about is a brand I don't really talk about that much. I think I only own maybe 3 palettes from them, and this is Clarity Cosmetics. This is the Lily palette. They actually recently, over the weekend, were accepting applications for their their affiliate program. This is what it looks like on the inside. I think this is a pretty unique color story. It gives you some nice pinks and it gives you some nice fuchsias, purplish pinks and oranges to go together, and I would have never thought to pair orange and mint together. So to me that's what made this palette unique. Like, I'm not pairing oranges with mint, I'm not pairing oranges with purples per se, but the fact that they put that unique element of mint in here to go with the rest of this is what makes this palette unique to me, because I wouldn't think of pairing these warmish type colors with a mint shade. But I've made really nice looks with it that worked out really nice with it, I think 2 or 3 times on Instagram. So let's end. We got 2 more left, y'all. So I'm Of course, I told y'all I was gonna do blue, green, and purple palettes. Y'all know I love me a blue, green, purple palette moment. I gave y'all a whole video just ranking them because I like them that much. So these are the three that I picked out of my collection that I felt like were the ones that I would probably reach for the most. And I'll explain why. It's like I've done with everything else. So I'm starting off with the Lethal Cosmetics Evergreen palette. I really love the tones in this. I like the light to depth tones of them. I like the shimmer to matte ratio. Everything about this I just really enjoy, and I feel like this would pair really nicely with the other palette that I picked for this, which is another reason I picked it. So I want to put it with my, of course, my Arrow inspired from Adept Cosmetics. Y'all know Adept doesn't really give you that many mattes, but they give you lots of shimmer. So I feel like the shimmers in here, the nice dual chrome multi-chromes, I would put on the lid, and then like the shimmers in here I probably put in my inner corner. And this has some of the mattes that match the shimmers in here, like the purple in here and that deep dark shade right here on the end. So I just feel like both of these palettes would pair really nicely together. So that's why I wanted to do both of these. But these are definitely a couple of blue, green, purple palettes that I love to use in my collection a lot of times, and I've paired them together. I've also paired them with the Glamlight X Michaela Pop 2 palette. Now this one I usually just use on its own just because I love the way it's set up, and it's one of my all-time favorite blue, green, purple palettes. So I feel like you should already know which palette I'm talking about. This is the Blend Bunny Lure palette. This is probably like one of my all-time favorite Blend Bunny palettes out of all the Blend Bunny palettes I own. And I own just about every single palette except for one. I'm actually wearing Blend Bunny on my eyes right now. This is the Sickly Sweet palette that I tried out for you all, that you should see in the video going up on the 9th, which is today. But back to this palette. I love the color story of this. You got your blues, you got your turquoise, and you got your greens. You got purples, you got a nice smoky moment, and then you have like some pinks. So I feel like I would pair the pinks and the purples with the like smoky tone look to give a little extra oomph, and then I can do like a blue and green moment, I feel like. Or you can just pair everything and jump throughout the palette, which is what I like to do because I just love the color story of this palette. I think it's absolutely stunning and wonderful, and I'm so glad to have it in my collection. So this one had to be in here. I had a couple more that I could have added on, but I was like, we're just gonna stick to like, you know, these three, or else I'd have been having like honorable mentions, and I've already ranked all of them, so I didn't feel like we need to go any deeper than that. Okay, so we're gonna end it with the Halloween palettes, honey. Okay, so these came out in sets, so I thought it was okay to show them in sets. So these are the Halloween palettes I chose. So of course I picked the Baddie Bean and Trail Hollow Bean palette. I felt like this one was really nice and unique. I know I have her first one, but I actually reached for this one more, which I never thought would happen. But the shade Black Flame just does something, and I think it's just so stunning. I like this what is it, Galish shade up here, or sorry, Ghastly shade up here. I like the shade Ghoulish down here. So I just like the tones in this palette as a whole. Even though it has a couple of oranges, which y'all know I'm not crazy about, I still feel like it completes the palette. And since, you know, pumpkins are orange and Halloween and all that, I understand where she was going with it. I think it's a gorgeously, a gorgeous curated color story that works out nicely for Halloween, and I definitely plan on reaching for it a lot during the fall. So that's why I wanted to include it in this video. Now the other two, they came out in sets of like 3. I'm not including one because y'all know it got hard pan, and that kind of started my I guess feelings toward the brand changing. But this is the Unearthly Cosmetics Halloween collection. Remember, she came out with 4 palettes. Obviously I left out the weirdos, and I didn't buy Warm Blood because it was, you know, so huge and warm tone, and we know I'm a cool tone queen. So I got 1964 here. This is what she looks like inside. I like the uniqueness of the color story when it comes to this, because it's like you got a blue green moment right here if you want to just do a blue green look, or you can turn it over here and have a nice soft pink pastel-y like smoky eye, I guess, or soft smoky eye if you will. Or you can just combine them together and have a unique look, because I think I did like green and blue and like pink or something like that when I initially did my looks. It's been so long ago because this came out in 2022, so I don't remember, child. Don't start me lying. But I came out with a really nice look, and I actually have reached for this since that video, even though sometimes I feel like it's difficult to come up with a look with this without covering it up and doing like one side or doing the other side like I showed you. But I still really like the palette, and I wanted to include it because this was like probably one of my favorite Halloween releases in a while. Next, of course, y'all know I use the So Strange palette. The So Strange one is probably the one I use the most. I live for these 2 shimmers right here. They are amazing. But again, if you cover it up like this, it's like you have this nice warm sunsetty eye, if you will, and then you can cover it up and you could have a nice like pink and green moment if that's more your style. So I like this palette as a whole, and I look look at it as a whole, but I like to cover things up sometimes to help other people who don't can't see the vision of a palette sometimes without seeing just certain sections that work out better for you. So that's why I covered it up. But I really liked this collab. This was like my favorite palette of the three. I thought it was going to be the weirdos, but it turned out to be so strange. So I had to show both of those. And the last two I have to talk about are, of course, Angie's new collab that just came out. The Little Ghost and Trick or Treat. Now, y'all know I love Little Ghost more than Trick or Treat. So let's talk about Trick or Treat first. I don't know. To me, Trick or Treat is more like the Merry Christmas palette. That for people that didn't get a chance to get the Merry Christmas palette, it's a good alternative for you. So is a Hudson Valley from Nomad Cosmetics. You can use code Dion at Nomad. But yeah, I feel like this is a good alternative for the people who didn't get that. Now, it's not exact. That's why I said alternative. I showed you all this in the comparison video. I'll try to remember to link it up above, where I did a comparisons of this palette and the other palette I'm going to show you. But this one isn't necessarily my cup of tea and my first pick. I do still like the palette though, which is why it's in here. It's just the Little Ghost is more of the color story for me. And now you see what I'm talking about when I said it looks similar to Angie's other palette. Because what you got the blues and the purples right here. And then you got this pop of yellow instead of the pop of green. And then you got the more corally tones at the bottom. So that's why I was saying it looked somewhat like the Claytos one. It doesn't look exact, and I didn't say it looks exact. I said it gives similar vibes because it's just giving like the blue and purple. She just replaced the green with the yellow. But I still like this. This is a if you like the Salmon palette, I feel like you'll like this palette because it gives off similar vibes to that as well. She just did corals instead of oranges, and I think like it's pop of yellow isn't in there from what I remember. It's in a box somewhere. I'm just too lazy to get up and get it because, like I said, I did a comparison video that I'll try to remember link up above, comparing all these to other things. But this was the last palette I had to talk about. Ooh, honey, I'm tired, and it's like probably 5 in the morning, so I'm ready to go home and go to bed. Adriangameover doesn't have to go to school today, thank God. Thank God. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. Comment down below and tell me what your favorite section was, and if you own any of the palettes I talked about. Remember, you all are diamonds, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Be blessed, girl. Bye.